Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Late night here on Monday night as we get ahead of this 9-game slate on Tuesday. I've got some projections, a few best bets, and play a prop also put in already on the card. So definitely make sure to subscribe to that page. We're bringing these videos to you each and every night as we get ahead of these slates in the NBA right now, getting into playoff time coming up. Also going to be having that live stream every single day, 5:30 p.m. Eastern on the weekdays, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on the weekends. But tomorrow here on Tuesday, we'll be looking at these things with you. Bring your bets. We jump into these things together. You bring them in the comments and we go over them. I show you a little bit of the process of how I'm making these plays. So we're having a good time. But for now, let's get into Tuesday. Quick look here at the 9-game slate on Tuesday night. A couple things I wanted to show you here. You can see the schedule for the teams that are going to be on a back-to-back Tuesday and Wednesday. None of these teams are playing back-to-backs Monday and Tuesday, but the important ones that I circled here are Cleveland and Oklahoma City, as the Cavs are going to be taking on Phoenix on Wednesday night. So much tougher game there than the Utah one. Might be a bit of a look ahead for the Cavs. Same concept for the Thunder here. Potential look ahead against Philly, even though they might not have Jalen Williams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which we'll talk about here in just one sec. It is a pretty big game without Joel Embiid for Philly. It's a much bigger game to be taking on Boston there on Wednesday night. So a couple things to keep in mind as you might be placing bets on these Cavs or Thunder, potential look-ahead games for them on Tuesday. All right, first game we're looking at here, Toronto is playing host to the LA Lakers. Lakers got a bunch of people here on injury on the injury report. They're 13.5-point favorites, 229.5 on the total there between these two teams. AD, LeBron, both questionable. The usual guys still out for LA, and then Jackson Hayes will be playing. Even if AD plays, we're going to have some Jackson Hayes minutes in there. For the Raptors, the important thing to keep in mind here, Emmanuel Quickley is likely to play in this one. So is RJ Barrett. Gary Trent Jr., he is out, and then Ochai Agbaji is also out. And then the usuals that have been out for Toronto for the last bunch of games, Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, and Cruz Boucher will all be out once more. Taking a look at the last 5 games for these teams, somewhat important, but mostly only because the Lakers are going to be the same team that they've been for the last 5 games. The Raptors are going to look much different with RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley in. Some things we can rely upon, though. This Lakers offense has been middle of the pack, so has the defense, as they've been on a little mini road trip here. They've still played at the fastest pace and been a very good rebounding team as well, 7th best rebound percentage, and middle of the pack pretty much everywhere else. Thing is, they're playing this Raptors squad who has been playing at a slightly slower pace than they normally do, although once again, with Emmanuel Quickley in, that's going to look a lot different. But that offensive and defensive rating are bad. Basically the worst team in the league at this point with their offensive and defensive rating where it's at. One of the worst net ratings in the league, the worst rebounding team in the league, and they're allowing teams to make a ton of shots. So we'll see if IQ and RJ Barrett can make a difference on the defensive end, but they should absolutely make a difference on the offensive end. To show you what I mean here, we're talking about these last 20 games for the Raptors with and without Emmanuel Quickley. With him, they played 13 games, looking at about a 100.82 pace, putting up 113 points per game. Without him, that's 7 games, 96.5 pace with 104 points per game scored in that time frame. So looking a lot better with IQ. I will say the offensive rating, not that much better with IQ. I mean, it's about 112 versus about 109 or so with him and without him. So it's not like their offensive efficiency is necessarily that much better, but because they play at a much faster pace, they have a legitimate point guard as opposed to, I guess, Grady Dick and some combination of Bruce Brown as their point guards. They should be a lot more adept at offense against this Lakers squad. As far as the Lake Show is concerned, I don't think they're going to have any trouble scoring with the Raptors, with or without RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, because a huge problem for this Raptors squad is limiting people at the rim, right? The rim frequency for the Lakers on the season, they're going to the rim the second most frequently. They've got the best field goal percentage when they get there, and they're also getting out in transition. And those are 2 places on the floor that the Raptors have struggled all season and will continue to struggle because their center is Kelly Olynyk, right? There's 0 shot blocking, there's 0 rim protection, and as a result, they do try to sell out on the not sell out on the 3-point line so that they can avoid getting blown by and have no rim protection. Problem is, their 3-point defense is also suffering a ton. Most importantly, they're not getting back on defense and they're not efficient stopping it when they get there. So you can kind of guess what the first bet is here. I would say the Lakers, except for it's 13.5. It's really about the over for me. So I've got a full unit on over 229.5 in this game because I think Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett just matter that much to the competency of this Toronto Raptors team on offense. And the Lakers are going to bring it on offense with pace the whole game, attacking the rim, getting out in transition. I don't buy buy the AD and LeBron questionable tags. I think they're both playing. And as long as they're both playing and the two dudes on Toronto, RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, are playing as well, I do like the over here as my first best bet of the night for Tuesday. Second game we're looking at here is a pretty good one. I would imagine it depends if these guys are playing at all. So we've got the Thunder -4.5 in Philly, 225.5 on the total right now. And we're talking about really three major question marks here with SGA, Jalen Williams, both on the Thunder, questionable. Joel Embiid, we know, is out. But then we've got Tyrese Maxey, questionable now for this Philadelphia 76ers team. If all three of those dudes are out, I absolutely love an under. And to be honest, if they're all in, I still kind of prefer the under here. That is my preferred lean. Thing is, if Tyrese Maxey plays and both those dudes don't play for the Thunder, then I think we actually have some value on this 76ers team at home, even without Joel Embiid in this one. Look at the last 5 games for these two teams, and we're talking about a really weird phenomenon here with this 76ers squad, who has played the 7th best strength of schedule over these last 5 games, yet they have the 4th best offensive rating for a team that could not score without Joel Embiid prior to this last 5 games for them. The defensive rating is still very bad, and they're playing at an incredibly slow pace, which is why they've gone under pretty consistently here. But the rebound percentage has also jumped up for them. All these numbers are way better than they were in the previous roughly 15, 20 games that they played without Joel Embiid. So it's a little bit of an anomaly to me, or at least it's seemingly like an outlier that they've been so good on offense, which is once again why I lean to the under here in this one. For the Thunder, I mean, they've played a couple games without SGA, but they've also just sort of been middle of the pack in general over the course of the last week or so. 16th in both offensive and defensive rating, still playing at a fast pace. And that's the other thing, is without SGA, they've gone over a ton, but they played a lot faster paced teams, including Houston, who has become one of the faster paced teams in the league, as well as the Golden State Warriors. And I believe we also have the third game they played here is Phoenix, right? So a couple, 3 games here with a lot to look at in terms of the amount of offense that they're playing for this Thunder team, or the pace that they're playing at without SGA. And they are getting a good amount of offense as well with Jalen Williams and Josh Giddey getting theirs. And that's what I'm looking at for tomorrow in terms of these player props here. You can see I've got some stuff here for Josh Giddey with and without Shai Gilgeous, right? With him, 70 games, so it's not really much of a comparable sample size here. It's only 3 games without him. But in these last 3 games, you can see the game log here at the bottom. 31 minutes, 32 minutes, and 24 minutes, but putting up a ton of shots, right? Averaging almost 17 shots a game in these last 3 that he's played without SGA, scoring a ton of points. So he's been the dude taking on the shots and the field goal attempts that have been left behind by SGA's absence. And he's finished them to the tune of 24 points per game in 28.5 minutes over these last 3 games. So I'm looking at Josh Giddey. You'd have to make this points prop very high for me not to hit the over for Josh Giddey tomorrow. We still don't have these props as I'm putting this out for you guys on Tuesday night, but I can't get away from the idea that Josh Giddey is going to be putting up big numbers with a lot of volume here. So as soon as we see his props, get that back out to you. Another quick reminder that we will have that live stream 5:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, as we do each and every day. I'll definitely have a final best bet here with some Josh Giddey props, and we'll look at the total in this game and whether or not I am going to take Philly based on how we see this injury report shape up for these two teams. All right, let me interrupt the best bet projections here to take a quick look at a best bet I did place for a player prop. And we're back to the Andrew Wiggins well. I've actually hit on Andrew Wiggins 3 times this season. All of those were points. I'm looking at rebounds in this one. I think points and rebounds is going to be a pretty good play as well. I'd like to see if Jonathan Kuminga is going to play in this game. He is a big questionable tag here, because if he does play, then he is someone who's been getting a lot of usage at the power forward position, which has kind of eaten into Andrew Wiggins' points at times, but really the rebounds have been there much more for him than they have for Kuminga. So even if Kuminga does play, I still like the over 4.5 rebounds for Wiggs. That's why I put the half a unit on it a little bit early, because I do see this potentially going up to 5.5. He's gone over in 9 of his last 10, averaging 6 rebounds per game in that time. Like I mentioned, Jonathan Kuminga is questionable, and Dallas is allowing the 7th most rebounds per game, 2 small forwards. I do think there's an under likely in this one, which is also why I think rebounds might be a little bit more frequent than you might expect between these two teams, who are normally putting up like 260 totals at times, right? Like 250 totals that we've seen between these two teams. But really, it's all about where he is on the floor, because in his last 5 games, since it's been this current iteration of the Warriors teams with pretty much everybody healthy at this point, Kuminga's missed a few games, but he's only missed 2 of these last 5. And in these last 5, Wiggins is actually third on the team in rebound chances behind only Trace Jackson Davis and Draymond Green, and he's right behind them, like at about 11 rebound chances per game. Draymond is also about 12 or so rebound chances, and Trace Jackson Davis at about 14. Still don't have props for TJD, the Rook, because we don't know if Kuminga is playing, and he's the person who will be impacted by Kuminga's presence or absence. TJD will definitely be getting a bump in his prop lines if we don't see Kuminga. We don't have them out yet because the books don't feel comfortable giving us Trace Jackson Davis lines without knowing if Kuminga's in. But I think this is a safe bet regardless of if JK plays. So that's why I'm going with Wiggs over 4.5 rebounds to kick this one off. Doing things a little backwards here, I understand, but let's get into that injury report here for this Mavs and Dubs game. 1.5 still underdogs here for the Mavericks, 232.5 on the total. And Derek Lively, that's a pretty big impactful injury as well, especially for these player props, because I would like to look at some Daniel Gafford stuff, but I do want to know if Derek Lively is in there to potentially take some of his minutes. Josh Green's still out for the Mavs, and for the Dubs, we mentioned Jonathan Kuminga is questionable. Dario Saric is still out, and Klay Thompson is probable, so he's almost definitely playing in this game. All right, quick look at the last 5 games for these two teams. Not a very good strength of schedule for the Dubs. They've definitely taken advantage of the fact that they've played some scrubs, and as a result have picked up about 5 wins in a row now. 23rd strength of schedule. The Mavs here 16th, so right in the middle of the pack there. Few good wins for them in their last 5. But for them, it's really all about that defensive rating. Second in D rating over the course of their last 5 games. Very surprising for them. They've been playing incredibly well on defense. Decent pace, 11th fastest, so still not exactly playing slowly. But they've also become a really good rebounding team and just shooting incredibly well and stopping what the other team wants to do, and really limiting jump shooting teams like this Warriors squad, right? That defensive effective field goal percentage for them is second best over their last 5 games. Like I said, playing some decent shooting teams. For the Warriors, they've also been relying a lot more on defense as they've been on the road, right? And they have been a little bit better on defense and everywhere, really, on offense and defense on the road, as they kind of have turned back into that team that can't win at home and can win on the road. If you look at the pace for them at 17th as well, also a very good rebounding team, limiting the offensive rebounds for the other squad, which is exactly what the Mavericks are doing. So the way that these two teams are playing, really limiting what the other team wants to do in terms of shooting and getting second chance points off of rebounds, it does lead me to like an under, but I also just can't get away from the Dallas being so much better. They're 9-1 straight up and against the spread in their last 10 games are the Mavs. They put on a complete clinic over these last 10 games, looking like a way better team. I believe in what they've been doing a lot more than I believe in what the Dubs have been doing when they beat up on teams like Charlotte. They had a nice win against against Orlando. Not a nice win to me against Miami, who was playing without everybody except for Bam Adebayo. They weren't playing with Jimmy Butler, no Duncan Robinson, no Tyler Hero. It was really just Bam and a few of the boys and nobody else. So very unimpressed with what the Dubs have done in their little win streak here. Actually very impressed with what the Mavs have done in their win streak. So getting points for this Mavericks team against a Dubs team that I don't believe in and I think is fraudulent anytime it really does well, I'm going to go ahead and take the Mavs to be able to limit those jump shots and pull this one out. The money line is also a good bet here, pretty much even money. I took the plus 1.5 because it would cost me 8 cents to get the extra. It's even money for Dallas to win this thing straight up on the money line. So I just went ahead and grabbed that 1.5 points to take them on the road as road dogs. All the time that I have for you guys today in this one. Definitely want to make sure to subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. Going to have that live stream for you, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Final best bets. Going to pin those to the comments in the video as well here. So check back to make sure that you don't miss any of those final bets. We'll get into that with you all tomorrow. Until I see you next, happy betting.